There is a quiet shift that happens when wanting no longer pushes. Not because desire disappears, not because you've become indifferent, but because urgency has loosened its grip. This episode is about what it's like to want something without being pulled forward by it. For much of life, wanting is tied to movement. Desire creates tension. It leans toward the future and asks for completion. Even small wants can carry a subtle pressure, a sense that something needs to happen in order for the moment to be right. We want clarity. We want relief. We want progress. And wanting becomes a kind of engine. But there may come a point when that engine quiets. You still want things. You still notice preferences. You still feel drawn towards certain possibilities. But the draw doesn't feel urgent. At first, this can feel unfamiliar. Without urgency, wanting may seem weaker, less real. You may wonder whether desire has lost its power, whether something essential has faded. But nothing essential is missing. What's missing is compulsion. Wanting without urgency doesn't demand action. It doesn't insist on fulfillment. It doesn't frame the present moment as lacking. Desire appears, and it's allowed to remain unfulfilled without creating tension. This can feel deeply relieving. You may notice this in small, ordinary ways. You think about doing something later without planning it. You feel a mild interest in an idea without needing to develop it. You notice a preference without organizing your day around it. Wanting becomes informational, not directional. It tells you what's present without telling you what to do. This changes how you relate to the future. The future no longer feels like a place you need to reach in order to be okay. It becomes a loose horizon rather than a destination. You're not leaning forward internally. You're here. Wanting without urgency also changes how you experience frustration. When something you want doesn't happen, the disappointment is softer. It doesn't collapse into self-judgment or impatience. You notice it. You let it pass. Nothing tightens. This doesn't mean you stop pursuing things entirely. You may still act on desires. You may still move toward what matters. But action arises naturally, not from pressure. You don't push yourself forward. You respond when the moment calls for it. This can make movement feel slower from the outside. But internally, it feels steadier. You're not racing toward satisfaction. You're living alongside desire instead of being driven by it. This episode isn't about suppressing wanting. Suppression still creates tension. It's about allowing desire to exist without making it responsible for your well-being. Wanting doesn't need to be resolved. It doesn't need to be completed. It doesn't need to justify itself. This can be especially noticeable in larger desires. Life changes. Relationships. Work. Direction. You may notice that these wants still appear, but they don't dominate your thinking. They don't frame the present as insufficient. You can hold them lightly. There's space around them. This space doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're not dependent on outcome. You're not waiting for your life to begin once something happens. You're already living. Wanting without urgency also softens comparison. When desire isn't pushing you forward, other people's paths feel less relevant. You're not measuring yourself against where others are going. You're not trying to keep up. You're not falling behind. You're simply moving at the speed that feels natural. This can feel quietly freeing. You may also notice that desire changes texture. It becomes more subtle, more nuanced. Less about acquisition, more about resonance. You're drawn to things without needing to possess them. You enjoy the feeling of wanting without needing to satisfy it. This is unfamiliar for many of us. We're taught that wanting is uncomfortable, that it must be resolved or eliminated. But wanting doesn't have to hurt. It only hurts when urgency is attached. Without urgency, wanting becomes a gentle signal, not a command. This episode isn't asking you to stop wanting. It's noticing what happens when desire is no longer organizing your inner life. You don't have to arrange your days around what you want. You let desire exist alongside everything else. Some wants fade. Some persist quietly. Some turn into action naturally. Nothing needs to be forced. There may be moments when the mind tries to reintroduce urgency. It may suggest that you're wasting time, that you should be moving faster, that wanting should lead somewhere. Those thoughts don't need to be argued with. They pass. Urgency isn't required to live fully. In fact, urgency often narrows life. It compresses attention and creates pressure where none is needed. When urgency softens, life widens. You have more room to breathe, more patience for unfolding, more trust in timing that isn't managed. Wanting without urgency also changes how you rest. You're not resting to prepare for action. You're resting because rest is present. There's no build-up. There's no delay. Just a moment of being here. This season isn't about becoming passive or aimless. It's about recognizing that desire doesn't need to be the engine of your life. Life moves on its own. Desire comes along for the ride. If you're listening to this and noticing that you still want things, but they don't feel urgent anymore, you're not losing motivation. You're relating to desire differently. If these reflections feel like something you can return to, you're welcome to stay. Liking the video helps it reach others who may feel confused by quieter wanting. And if you want to keep a steady space like this available, you can subscribe, not for direction, but for companionship. If someone you care about seems less driven by desire lately, less compelled to chase outcomes, you're welcome to share this with them, only if it feels right. Wanting doesn't need urgency to be real. It only needs space.